What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talk with Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's finish up my NFL offseason preview series with the NFC West. The Seattle Seahawks are up first, the defending Super Bowl champs. Seattle is equipped with nearly $61 million in cap space, so they're in a good spot. This is a really good roster. It was very well put together. They hit on a lot of high draft picks. They made some really good value for agent signings and trades, whether it be Sam Darnold, a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, even Cooper Kupp. Might be a slight overpay, due 17.4 million next year, but still a positive addition for sure for the Seattle Seahawks. In terms of needs, try and bring back as much of the band as possible. Do have a couple of key free agents. Kenneth Walker, your starting running back. He is the reigning Super Bowl MVP at 160 yards in the Super Bowl. Zach Charbonnet, who is also a good running back. He had 13 touchdowns last season. He got injured in the playoffs. I don't think it was too bad of an injury. I don't think it was like a torn ACL or anything. I forget. So he could easily be ready for week one, but you never know. Kenneth Walker is a big part of their success. He's a running back. You don't want to overpay running backs. I get it. Maybe you can get somebody in the draft. No way Jeremiah Level falls to them at 32. But maybe a Mike Washington who had a great combine. He might end up being the second back off the board. Maybe if he's worth a first round flyer. Not sure he is, but maybe at the end of a second round they can get him to replace Walker. Walker is really explosive. He's very good. I would look to try and bring him back if you can. Tariq Woolen's a really good slot corner who's a free agent. Kobe Bryant, one of your safeties, is a free agent. So I'd try to bring those guys back. Uh, if you can, maybe keep adding to the offensive line. I don't think their offensive line is bad by any means. You hit on two draft picks in recent years. And Charles Cross, the left tackle, and last year Gray Zabel at guard. I think you have a very fine offensive line, but you could continue building on it. The team, when they run the football effectively, is really hard to stop. So I'd say keep beefing up the offensive line and just try and bring back as many pieces as you can, which they have the money to do. They have almost 61 million in cap space, though they did not tag Kenneth Walker. So I wonder if that means he's going to leave in free agency. Next team up is Los Angeles Rams. Out the Rams were the second best team in the NFL last year. They lost in the NFC Championship game to the only team that was better than them all year, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. So the Rams are equipped with $42 million in cap space. This is another really strong roster for sure. But I think a need to jump to the top of the food chain for them should be right tackle. Their longtime right tackle, Rob Havenstein, surprisingly retired a couple of weeks ago. So that's something they should definitely look to definitely prioritize in free agency. They do have two first-round draft picks as well. They have the Falcons pick from the Falcons trading up last year. So that's helpful. So on top of whatever it is, 29, whatever pick it is. The rest one, I think it's pick 13 as well. So they could maybe target a tackle. They won't get what's his name? Francis Nwaiga, I think his name is. I can imagine he'll slip to 13. They maybe could take Spencer Fano, but if not, maybe a guy like Caden Proctor or somebody else, I'm sure will be there at 13. But it never hurts to look to address that in free agency. I say keep building on this defense. You've been kind of rebuilding with defense for a couple of years. You've done a great job doing it. A lot of good young pieces on my defense, with, of course, some veterans mixed in. And again, Matthew Stafford is 38 years old, going to be 38 years old. Well, I wonder if they look to play around with his contract at all. He is going into the final year of his deal. He's due $48 million. But at the very least, they're a team that I could see taking a flyer like a Ty Simpson. It actually makes sense. Now, do what Seattle did with Jalen Milroe. Granted, Jalen Milroe was a third-round pick. A kid who, doesn't, in my opinion at least, have a whole lot of a future in the NFL. But, you draft him to a place where you have a good offensive infrastructure. You have some really good structure there. There is no reason they are ever going to need to play at all this coming season, and they can just simply learn the system, learn the offense, and maybe in a year or two, uh, because of how good the infrastructure is, maybe they could be ready to take over the starting reins and be something half decent in the NFL. So, like, they're a team. Like, I don't think Ty Simpson is a first round talent, but I think if the Rams were to take him in the first round, I don't think it's the end of the world because they don't really have a ton of needs. They can address them in free agency in any that they do. And now you don't have to panic about all right, if you don't, especially if you don't win a Super Bowl next year. And Matthew Stafford starts showing any signs of decline. Granted, he just won MVP at age 37, so I don't see a whole lot of that happening, and at least not next year, most likely. Or maybe next year when his contract ends, he decides to retire. I mean, he's probably a Hall of Fame caliber player already. He's been in the league. Next year will be his 18th year in the league. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won an MVP. He's probably gonna be in the Hall of Fame. You know what? I'm good. So you can cover your backside in that case. Next team we're going to jump to is the San Francisco 49ers. So they don't have a ton of money in cap space, a little under 23 million to play with. If I had to guess, they are going to move on from Brandon Ayuk based off what I've heard. He was injured all of last year. He's played just 5 games since signing that 4-year, $120 million extension a couple of seasons ago. Made all that commotion for nothing. He's only due over 14.5 million this coming season, but after that, his salary is going to jump. He will make 40 plus million in 27 and 28. Neither are probably going to avoid paying that. Him and Kyle Shanahan have really no relationship at this point. If I had to guess, they will make him a post June 1st cut. They will save a little over $6 million. They'll just have to eat a lot of dead money, nearly 30 million in dead cap. However, most of that won't take effect till next year. So this year, they'll actually almost be in luck in that sense. They're going to have to add another wide receiver, most likely, with Ayuk being let go. Juwan Jennings, a free agent. They're probably going to be priced out of him, most likely. Outside of George Kittle, who's going to be 33 and a little bit injury prone. He might miss some time next year. He tore his Achilles in the wild card round against Philadelphia this past season. So they're going to need to add another receiver. I can see him targeting that in the draft. They continue to look at the offensive line. They added a couple of pieces last year, but I think you could continue to improve the offensive line. Up front, if they're healthy, I think they'll be fine. Nick Bosa's a stud. Having him healthy will be huge. Mike Williams, the first round pick from last year, if he's healthy, that will be huge as well. Fred Warner, maybe the best linebacker of the sport. Hopefully he's healthy. But secondary, I think he's a little bit of help. I don't hate Demondre Lenore is probably your top corner. I don't hate a lot of these pieces, but I think it would be in their best interest to also look to improve the secondary. It's been, to me, the weak link of what is a very, very elite roster for quite a few seasons now. So I could see them looking to improve the secondary as well. So I would say their top needs should be wide receiver, offensive line, and improving the secondary. And last but certainly least, because they are not very good, the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, look, right now you have a little under $39 million in cap space. Kyler Murray, it looks like he's going to definitely be cut. He's due $52.6 million to this coming season. He's got 2 years left on his deal, plus a $6.3 million club option in 2028. But he was obviously benched for a lot of last season, even after he was healthy. If I had to guess, they're going to try and trade him. If not, they're just going to cut him. And they're just going to try and make it work. The dead cap is going to be enormous, but they don't really have much of a choice. In terms of what's going to happen at the quarterback position, I could see them looking at Malik Willis or somebody like that. I honestly think they're just going to roll with Jacoby Brissett. They're going to almost try and suck on purpose and get a high pick next year, draft the quarterback next year. In terms of the rest of the roster, they need to improve the offensive line. I like Paris Johnson. You took him in a high pick recently. Other than that, the line leaves a lot to be desired. They're going to need a lot of help on that offensive line. I can see him targeting a tackle with the third pick in this coming draft. And defensively, this team needs a lot of help. I still need some help on the pass rush. I like Josh Wright you signed last year. You have a couple of pieces there. Darius Robinson's a former first round pick from a couple of years ago. We haven't really seen him show up yet. Zayvon Collins, a former first round pick. We're kind of running out of time to see what if he's going to be an elite level player. I think they need one more pass rusher. I would also add to the secondary as well. I think the weapons are honestly fine. I still believe Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson had a career year last year. Trey McBride might be the best tight end in the NFL. So, and also they need a true three down back. They had a ton of injuries last year at the running back position. James Conner's probably going to be cut. That would save them like $7.5 million against the cap, which they honestly could use. And just none of the other guys they have last year are three down backs, whether it be Michael Carter or DeMarcado was terrible. So I don't really know what they're going to do at running back from within. They're going to have to let go of Connor and bring in somebody else because otherwise they're going to be again have a really poor running attack last year, and they don't have the passing attack either. With obviously them being in lingo at the quarterback position, so you wonder could maybe Kenneth they target a Kenneth Walker, somebody like that. Do they go on the lower end, try and see if Tyler Algier can break out if they bring him in, maybe a Rashad White? But the major needs for this team, they also got to think of the quarterback situation. Get get Kyler Murray out of there. Decide, are we rolling with Jacoby Brissett or are we going to sign somebody else? Are we going to maybe trade for a Mac Jones? I'm not sure what they're planning to do. They got to get a three down back in there, and they got to address the defense. The defense needs a lot of help for sure. So we got some cap stuff going on in the NFL. A couple players were cut, couple guys were tagged. The Chiefs cut Jawan Taylor, $20 million. He's been a relative disaster since signing that 4-year, $80 million deal. He had one more year left on it, but now he's gone. He's not been very good. He's a penalty machine. He takes a lot of full start penalties, takes offensive holding a lot as well. He's one of the most penalized linemen in the league. He's gone. That saves him $20 million against the cap, which they needed because they're way over the cap. That's why they had to restructure Mahomes' deal. The Commanders cut Marshawn Lattimore, saves them $18.5 million against the cap. Lattimore was once an elite level corner, and he's still not a bad corner, but he's not the player he once was. A little bit injury prone. He gets let go. But Jets have franchise tagged Breece Hall. He will make $14.2 million or so on the tag, but they are going to try and figure out a long-term deal. But, first of all, you know how it goes with running backs. So we'll see what the Jets do with Breece Hall. But he has been franchise tagged. And it just came in. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon until I'm filming this. But the Indianapolis Colts have placed a transition tag on Daniel Jones. The transition tag is worth $37.8 million. It's $5 or $6 million less than a franchise tag. A franchise tag would be almost $44 million if they were to place it on Daniel Jones. That means teams can sign him, but the Colts can match any offer. So it's basically like the NBA's version, the NFL's version for compared to the NBA of an offer sheet for a guy who was restricted. Daniel Jones is not restricted, but now he is. So if a team makes an offer and the Colts are like, you know what, I don't want to pay him that, then their team can sign him. They can let him go, but if they want to match, they can. I would think they would. I don't know why you'd put a position tag on a guy otherwise, especially your starting quarterback. Obviously, the one little wrinkle in here, Jones is coming off a torn Achilles, so we don't know if he's going to be ready for week one. So that's why it's obviously a short 1-year deal, not looking to give him a long-term deal. But Jones gets hit with the transition tag. Those aren't super popular. I'll look through my phone and see if anything else came through. So Drew Dalman is retiring, which is shocking. He's just 27 years of age, was a Pro Bowler last year, and he had 2 years left on a $42 million deal, so he retires. So congratulations to Drew Dalman on a nice career. But yeah, he is retired. So the Bears have a hole at center. With the Colts placing the tag on Daniel Jones, Alec Pearson will most likely will hit the open market. He's a candidate to probably Bolton for agency. A lot of teams are going to want him. Coming up on the 1,000-yard year, and he's a legit speed threat. He's last year averaged the most yards per catch in the NFL. So he's definitely a flight risk, if you ask me. But let's get to the main course of today's show. My first NFL mock draft. Years ago, I used to do like 3, 4, 5 of these. I found in recent years that's kind of pointless. So I'm deciding to do one now. The combine, of course, just ended, And I'm going to do another one probably a week or so before the draft, maybe two. Um, so yeah, so the draft is towards the end of April, so I'll probably do it another one like a month and a half or so. Let's get into it. I'm gonna run through this a little quicker than when I do it the second time. When I find out a little bit more about the prospects, and like we all do, I then this will be a little bit of a longer segment when we get some more information. There's so much information already out there. You guys can just look it up. With the first pick in the NFL draft, I have Las Vegas Raiders selecting Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. This is a no-brainer. As for how Mendoza grades out, I don't think he's going to be like a elite of the elite. I think he'll be a good quarterback in the NFL. He's got a decent arm. He's accurate with the football. Seems like a really good leader. He's not afraid to step up and make the throw. He's got some decent wheels on him. Uh, I'm not sure if it'll happen in Vegas. Vegas is kind of a dumpster fire, but you have an elite tight end, Brock Bowers. You have an elite running back in Gentry. But just for the love of God, please give Mendoza some sort of offensive line because you will get him killed. Otherwise, that line is pitiful, maybe the worst in the NFL last year. So, but Mendoza number one to the Raiders. Second overall, the New York Jets select David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. I hope you guys liked I had the noise in there. If you guys don't, let me know in the comments. But David Bailey, I think is the edge rusher from this draft is a bunch of them kind of grouped in there. Ruben Bain, Arvo Reese, a bunch of guys. This guy I think is an absolute stud. I think everyone says it should be Arvo Reese. I think Reese, you could argue his ceiling is incredible and might be a little bit higher, but I think Bailey's bust rate is a lot lower than Reese's. I think Bailey has potential to be an absolute superstar and an all-pro player like Alvaro Reese can, and he just has a little bit of a safer floor. I think the Jets should take him at number two. We have him and Will McDonald coming off the edge with Stephondre Sweat in the middle, Harrison Phillips, and Briggs can rotate in and out in that interior. The Jets defensive line looks pretty set. I mean, it's the Jets. They do funny things all the time, so you never know, but this should be the pick if you ask me. Third overall, the Arizona Cardinals select Francis Mayoga. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong, but he is the offensive tackle out of Miami that I have going to Arizona. I know a lot of people think they might go defense, but you gotta when you're rebuilding, it's a lot easier in the NFL to build from the inside out opposed to outside in. It's easier to build in the trenches and then outward. Arizona's kind of doing that. Now, they're not there like, they're not like Miami. They're just cutting everybody and trading everybody. But, they're going to be moving off of a veteran quarterback in Kyler Murray. They don't have a whole lot there. It's a younger roster. They're really doing some serious retooling. And you take Mayoga, who, to me, he's the only tackle in this class that'll probably a perennial All-Pro. Definitely best tackle in this class, best offensive lineman in this class by a pretty good margin, if you ask me. And that gives you two good young tackles with him and Paris Johnson on the upper side. So I think Arizona should go in this round. I think they will. Fourth overall, the Tennessee Titans select Arvo Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State. And look, I do think Reese is getting some really crazy comparisons. I think are kind of a little bit much. Like the Micah Parsons stuff is kind of wild to me. But this is a great player. I just think he's being overhyped just a smidge. I think he's a top 5 player of his class. I think he'd be a top 5 player in a lot of classes. But he's just being compared to some, incredible talents. It really isn't fair. But I think he'll be a great player. I think Robert Saleh will like this kid a lot. And I think the Titans find themselves a franchise edge rusher, which they really need. The fifth overall pick, New York Giants select safety Caleb Downs out of Ohio State. So I thought about going a bunch of different directions with the Giants here. The reason I went with Downs is I just think, first of all, he's top 5 player in this class. So there's no doubt about it. If you told me Caleb Downs was the best player in the class, I would have to really dig deep to find an argument to argue against that because there's a few players I think you could argue. If you say it's Caleb Downs, I'm not gonna really have much of an argument. Is he? I can make an argument for a couple other guys, but he's definitely one of them. I know people's like, oh, safety at 5 is ridiculous. It's simple as this. Caleb Downs is, you don't see many safety prospects come around that are just can't miss, can transform your defense like that on day one. Trey Polamalu was one of them, and Reed was another one. I think Caleb Downs is in that tier as a prospect. Not saying he's going to be, the second or third best safety of all time. We'll see what happens, but he's that kind of prospect, and I think will be an excellent NFL player. And the Giants need some sort of spark from this defense. I think John Harbaugh can provide that on his own, but Caleb Downs will help a lot. Well, the sixth overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. The Browns desperately need a number one wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy is a drop machine. None of the while they are not wide receiver core. Carnell Tate, I think, is a very explosive receiver that will be a really good NFL player. And the Browns get a top level receiver, Carnell Tate. Unfortunately, his offensive rookie of the year odds might be a little bit low because their quarterback might be me at this point. But Tate's an explosive receiver. I think the best one out in this class. But the seventh overall pick, the Washington Commanders select Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. It is simple as this. He won the greatest combines ever. This is a guy that was probably like that top 12 to 15 range as a prospect. Probably was going to get past the 15th for the 16th pick. Then he went out and showed out at the combine, and he made people realize there are not 5 prospects in this draft better than Sonny Styles. There's a chance he doesn't even get out of the top 5. Certainly won't get out of the top 10. I think if you're the Commanders, you need a piece like this. You have a bunch of guys on defense that aren't necessarily bad players. You need somebody to bring it all together. And Sonny Styles is that guy. He is an incredible athlete. Just the combination of size and strength that he brings to the linebacker position, you don't see very often in linebackers. And it's honestly a no-brainer considering the way the board fell for the Washington Commanders. The eighth overall pick, New Orleans Saints select Ruben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami. Look, the talk of the last week has been his arm size. I'm a little bit tired of hearing this every single combine about, when a lineman's arms are too long or a quarterback's hands are too small. It's stupid. NFL gyms love to nitpick. I get why they do it. They want to handle the merchandise that they're buying. I get it. Makes all the sense in the world. But at some point, if the kid can play, the kid can play. Whatever his arms are like Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four, and they could reach from here to the other side of the earth, or he has dinosaur arms. If the kid's good, the kid's good. Ruben Bain's really good. He was a monster in the college football playoff in Miami's run to the national championship. I think he's a big game pass rusher. And the Saints really need him. As I said yesterday, they got to get a young edge rusher in there with Cameron Jordan hitting the market, going to be 37 years old, and they get that with Ruben Bain. They've been trying to replace him for years, and then they finally found the replacement, hopefully Ruben Bain. The ninth overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. This to me is a no-brainer. They desperately need a running back like this in there. Love is a stud. He's the kind of running back that you can get away with taking this high. He's a superstar. I'm not sure that if people said like he's the same level of prospect like a Saquon Barkley or a Bijan Robinson, I'm not sure it's quite the same, but just the fit in that offense, and he is an excellent player. Like people saying he's the best player in the draft, let's kind of slow your roll, but he's one of the 10 best players in this class. Chiefs take him at 9. It's good value. The 10th overall pick in this draft, Cincinnati Bengals select Mansour Delane, corner out of LSU. Look, the Bengals got to adjust the defense. The O-line's a major concern as well. However, you've put a bunch of resources into the O-line recently, signing Orlando Brown, drafting Amarius Mims in the first round. So, but defense really haven't put any resources into. Troy Hendrickson's probably leaving now. They decided not to tag him. DeLon, I think, could be a very good corner, and adding him would go a long way. The 11th pick in the draft, the Miami Dolphins select Spencer Fano, tackle out of Utah. I mentioned him when I was talking about the NFC West before he goes to Miami here. He should be a very good tackle. Again, if you're Miami, you're completely starting over. You don't know what's going on in Miami. Build from the trenches out. Your quarterback is either going to be running back of Tua or it's going to be like Malik Willis, most likely. You're signing him in free agency for a year or two. You're going to have a bridge quarterback either way. You're not going to get very good quarterback play. You're not going to win a lot of games. The goal is pretty simple. Got a new regime coming in. They're going to want to probably not win that many games and then, try and, draft the quarterback next year. So you'd almost rather have a high pick. So obviously it's a one quarterback draft. So you're going to want to address offensive line and take Spencer Fano in the first round. With the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Jermon McCoy, cornerback of Tennessee. He just really fits what the Dallas Cowboys are looking for. He should be a good corner. And Dallas adds him. They really need to help out that defense. It's a major need. 13th overall, Los Angeles Rams select Keldrick Folk, edge rusher out of Auburn. Folk's a very solid pass rusher, should be very good in the NFL. Again, the Rams don't have a ton of needs. You have another pick later. I think here you get another edge rusher. You have him, Jared Verge, and Byron Young. That's a really dangerous young defensive line. With the 14th overall pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Cassius Howell, edge rusher at Texas A&M. I thought about going receiver here, but they're really hoping that Jesse Minter replacing Jim Harbaugh will be similar to when a former assistant of theirs. Mike McDonald replaced Pete Carroll. Kind of a similar philosophy, just a newer, younger voice, more modern approach to things. So that means they're probably not going to really change up a whole lot of ways they're doing business. So they're probably not going to look to draft a receiver in the first round. I think they will address the defense, which is definitely a major need, to be fair. And then they get Cassius Howell, which they've already in that edge rusher as well. 15th overall with Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Akeem Mesidor, edge rusher out of Miami. Tampa Bay needs to address the defensive side of the ball. I know everyone's thinking Mike Evans might leave to a look at our receiver. I do not think he's leaving. I do think he re-signs in Tampa Bay. I mentioned that yesterday. And I think Akeem Mesidor is the right pick here. They need to address the defensive side of the ball, especially edge rusher. To me, that's their number one need, to be honest. 16th overall, New York Jets back on the clock. They have Indianapolis pick from the Sauce Gardner trade, and they select Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. So I think we just really need a wide receiver. Gary Wilson is very lonely in that receiving core. Having him out next year will obviously be a plus. Why I have Tyson over Mekhi Lemon. Lemon has some small character concerns. Certain organizations I think could definitely handle him, and he can play. He's not a bad player by any means. He's coming up soon. Little spoiler alert there. But Tyson's got less character concerns. The Jets are an organization to handle that. It's the Jets. I don't need to say anymore. But I have Tyson a little bit higher than Lemon for that reason. I think he makes a little bit more sense for the Jets. Now you get a franchise edge rusher. Now you get a nice receiver next to Garrett Wilson. 17th overall pick. The Detroit Lions select Vega Ione, offensive guard out of Penn State. I hope I said that right. The Lions need to address the offensive line. It's a must. Pass rusher as well. They seem like a team that should be involved in the Max Crosby sweepstakes if there is any. Hopefully there are for his sake. But on the exterior, Penei Sewell is one of the league's best. Decker, they're gonna need to bring in somebody to spell him throughout the year, but he can at least hold the fort down. Briefly next year. The interior needs a lot of help. They had like 4 different centers last year. They need a lot of help. And Ione is probably the best pure guard in this class. He goes 17th to the Lions. With the 18th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Monroe Feeling out of Georgia. He's listed as a tackle. He might end up having to be a guard long term in the NFL. Has Pro Bowl potential. The Vikings really got to improve the offensive line. They're going to be bringing in some sort of quarterback help in the offseason. I could see secondary here. Could see something else on the defensive side of the ball. I know they let go of Javon Hargrave. They might look to trade Jonathan Grenard as well, I'm hearing, because they're so deep in cap hell. But I think the offensive line's a major concern. And I think Monroe Feeling, whether they play him a tackle or a guard, I think this is a spot where he can really play guard because you have two good tackles in Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill, but the interior is such a disaster. I think Monroe Feeling could slot right in. I think it's a good fit for him. With the 19th overall pick in this draft, the Carolina Panthers select Makai Lemon, wide receiver at USC. Kind of start to say his name already, so we kind of spoiled it, but again, some small character concerns. I think Carolina is going to have to look at this and be like, we need to get Bryce Young some more weapons. This is the year for Bryce Young. He's got to, make it or break it. But you get him Makai Lemon, you put him and Ted McMillan together. That's pretty dangerous. I have Makai Lemon going to the Panthers. It'd be 20th overall pick in the NFL draft. The Dallas Cowboys select TJ Parker, edge out of Clemson. They were in need and some sort of edge presence after trading away Micah Parsons. You have him, Quinn Williams in the middle, guys like Sam Williams and that whole group rotating in and out. They'll be in a much better shape next year on the defensive side of the ball, especially since you use your earlier pick, which is your actual first round pick. 20th pick belongs to Green Bay. From the Parsons trade, you used on Jamal McCoy, who could be a franchise corner. But 21st overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. I thought about maybe taking Ty Simpson. First of all, Simpson's not. That's just terrible value. However, if the quarterback is Aaron Rodgers next year, he's 1,000. They need to bring in some sort of future. But it's the Steelers. They're so stuck in the way, so they're not going to do that. Maybe take a flyer on somebody like they did with Will Howard last year. But I think they look to find Cameron Hayward's heir apparent with Peter Woods here. With 22nd overall pick, Los Angeles Chargers select Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. Denzel Boston feels like a guy that's going to kind of fly under the radar. He's going to go somewhere in the 20s. He's like, oh, yeah, it's a solid pick. I see how they did that. And then within the first season, you're going to be like, wow, this kid's really good. He's a very good receiver. I could even see the Jets taking him at 16. Chargers needed another receiver. I think he could have been a receiver one. If he is, with him, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Omarion Hampton healthy running the ball, Chargers could finally start to put things together and put together maybe some playoff success. The 23rd overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. I've seen some people taking him in the top 5, or 5 or 6. The Giants had the 5th pick. Honestly, I do understand it. He's really, really good. He's going to be a great tight end. Dallas Goedert's probably going to leave in free agency. I've heard they may look to replace him in free agency. David Njoku, I hear heard is a target of theirs, but if they can't reel in David Njoku, Sadiq would be an excellent piece to pick up, especially if A.J. Brown is traded. And by the way, the reason I didn't go receiver, because I don't think he's going to be traded, at least not right now. Their ask price is so high, that could change. But right now, it looks like he's probably going to stay put, because I don't think they really want to trade him. But the 24th overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Caden Proctor, tackle out of Alabama. I really think Caden Proctor will need to move to guard. That being said, the Browns have open spots on the offensive line. Their whole line are free agents. You saw them go out and trade for Teets Howard and pay him a boatload of money a couple of days ago. So now you get Caden Proctor as they just try and fill out this offensive line. At least Proctor's young, and I do think if he's used right, he can be a very good lineman. He's 25th overall pick, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Banks, defensive tackle out of Florida. I like this kid a lot. I think by adding him in the middle of your defense, you can really beef up that run defense, which is needed. Their secondary was really bad last year, but also Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon missed a lot of games. Those two guys healthy, I think, will help the defense a little bit. Year two under Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen as a defensive coordinator, usually the first year or two, it's pretty rough. But within a few years, the defense just gets better every year. I think that's what the Bears is going to look like. They take Caleb Banks here at 25. At 26, Buffalo Bills select CJ Allen, linebacker out of Georgia. Something that's needed for the Bills. They need someone that can get downfield and get to ball carriers, right as they cross the line of scrimmage, maybe even before the line of scrimmage. CJ Allen can do that. Bills take him at 26. With the 27th pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Casey Concepcion out of A&M. Now, first of all, I saw he released a nice statement about his speech impediments. I thought that was a very nice message that he did, so kudos to him. Back to the actual prospect part of this. I think he has a bit of a cap ceiling, but he can kind of play the dink and dunk game in San Francisco as, Deebo Samuel-esque kind of player. I think this makes a lot of sense for the 49ers. There are certain places where Concepcion makes really zero sense, and it's a really rough fit, and it'd be wonky, and he wouldn't have a lot of success there. His career would probably not turn out too well. There are certain places where I think he fits. I think one of the best ones is definitely San Francisco. With a 28th overall pick, the Houston Texans select Caleb Lamu off the tackle out of Utah. Having him and Spencer Fowler together last year was nuts for Utah. Typical Kyle Whittingham kind of team. But he's a large man, very solid tackle. I don't know why Nick Asara, their GM, is thinking, oh, our offensive line is great when it's a disaster. You traded away Tejas Howard. You desperately need a tackle. I'm not sure why they traded Laramie Tunsil last year. Caleb Lamu is the tackle they take out of Utah. 29th overall, Los Angeles Rams select Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama. Okay. I pretty much already talked about this in a earlier segment today, of course, but I'll keep this short. Don't think he's the first round talent. The Rams pretty much addressed all of our needs. Stafford's 38. If anybody can get anything out of Ty Simpson, it's Sean McVay. Simple as that. With the 30th overall pick in the draft, the Denver Broncos select Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. Look, I really like Cooper. He's honestly one of my favorite players in this class. I don't think he's as good as the top three receivers that went ahead of him. But we also saw that catch against Penn State. He's got some really excellent footwork. He's got good hands, decent size. Not the fastest out there. He didn't run a very good time at the 40. But I think he fits well in Denver as the number 2 receiver alongside Courtland Sutton. For Bo Nix, I have Denver taking Omar Cooper here. With the 31st overall pick, the New England Patriots select Zion Young, edge out of Missouri. I know they need to address wide receiver, they need to address the offensive line, but I think they're one more pass rusher away from having an elite pass rush as good as it already is, as good as the defense already is. I like Zion Young a lot. With him, Harold Landry, and Christian Barmore and friends there, Patriots are in a really good shape in the front seven. This is a guy that I think Mike Vrabel is going to really like. And with the 32nd overall pick in the NFL draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Dylan Dynaman, safety out of Oregon. I think 3 safeties or so are going to squeeze into this first round. It's a pretty good and deep safety class. I might only have 2 coming in my mock here. Obviously, Caleb Downs is going to be the first one. All right. So I only have 2. I thought about Emmanuel McNeil Warren. There's a good chance he doesn't end up getting into the first round. In my mock, he doesn't quite squeeze in. But I haven't Demon going at 32. I think he's a solid safety. Seahawks are probably going to at least one of Woolen or Kobe Bryant, if not both of them. That Demon slides right in. That is my NFL mock draft. I would do another one next month right before the actual NFL draft. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.